So I know that everybody voted on hover boosters for this particular episode, but unfortunately, we don't actually have the budget to develop that kind of technology. So unfortunately, we're just gonna have to stick with regular. Wait. The project from this episode will be available for free members over on the CG Cookie site, so make sure to head over there and grab it. While you're there, make sure to tell them Chunck sent you. They'll know what that means, I think. So let's slap on another collection to our project and just add a simple circle object. I'm going to change the vertice count to 8 since it's always easier to add subdivisions than it is to take them away. In edit mode, let's rotate and position this at the top front left side of the vehicle. If you haven't already guessed, this is going to be the basis of our tire booster. Hover tire? Floaty wheelie? I don't know, call it whatever you want. With the tire extruded inwards, let's add a subdivision surface modifier to start. See, easy subdivisions. I'll give it a level of 2 and then add a mirror modifier onto it so that we can add our boosters to all 4 wheel wells of the car. Now we will notice that the back tires might not fit perfectly, so we're going to need to do a little finagling of our lattice modifier from the previous episode. Fortunately, that should do the trick. Let's now fill in these tires just a little bit. I'll extrude both sides inwards and bridge the edge loops to join the faces. And now it's time to tighten everything up with the bevel modifier. Slap that guy on above your subsurf mod, change the method to weight, and change the amount to 0.01 meters. Across our mesh, we will adjust the edges to various weights, but I keep the amount small since we want the edges to be tight. Finally, I'll add one loop on each side and scale them out to add some roundedness to the whole situation. Let's focus our attention now towards the interior of our tires. I'll duplicate and separate the inner edges of the tire to use it as our interior piece. From there, I will extrude inwards and keep working towards the other side of the tire. Once we get there, we can start extruding back outwards again, trying to seal off this side of the wheel. I want to make sure that I can see right through to the other side as well, as if it were a gateway to another dimension. Surprise! Now let's take a look at connecting these tires to our vehicle. With the interior, I'm going to duplicate and separate one of the loops that I'm going to use as the connection. Go ahead and extrude it out to resemble something like I've got here, and then on the other side, take a look at closing it out. Just remember, this side will be seen from the outside, so make it look pretty. Finally, I'm going to create a hinge for this unit. Because I'm hashtag efficient, I'm going to go into edit mode of the connector, add a cube, and then separate the cube so that it has all of the modifiers I want for a fraction of the time it would have taken me to set up. I could probably win Nobel Prizes with plays like this. Let's chop the bottom half off because I'm going to manually mirror it in a second here. Add a cut down the center and bevel it out. Remove the faces and weight out your edges to sharpen everything up. Once you get it just how you like it, go ahead and duplicate it. Bring it down underneath and scale it -1 on the Z-axis. That'll flip it around and we can snap it to the bottom. Make sure to merge your vertices by distance so we aren't getting any troublemakers as well, and we are free and in the clear. Kind of. Make sure you also recalculate your normals because we kind of messed those up when we scaled it negatively. Make sure to give your hinges some length, and that's going to be pretty much it for the modeling. So let's get to animating this. Let's apply all of the modifiers and make sure we separate each mesh into its own object. This will be important for manipulating rotations. I then want to parent everything to the connectors since that's what's going to be doing these rotations that I've just mentioned. Make sure to select Keep Transform so that the child pieces don't just fly off to goodness knows where. Let's also change the origin of the connector to be the very interior loop. Once we start animating, this is going to be the perfect pivot for us to rotate around. Now go ahead and repeat this process for the rest of the pieces so that we can go ahead and start to get them animated. Over in our animation workspace, I want to set an initial rotation keyframe on our connectors on frame 1. For our first animation, let's go to frame 20 and set a rotation of 45 degrees on the y-axis. This will give us this little waving animation. I'm going to repeat that for each of the other wheels and then offset each of their animations from each other by just a few frames so that there's this illusion of asynchronization. I'll pop over to our F-curve editor and hit T on my keyboard to bring up our interpolation menu. I'm going to select back, which is going to give our animation a little bounce to it so that it's not just super rigid. Again, we're going to want to repeat that for the remaining tires, and because they're all out of time, it looks super organic. But the fun doesn't stop there. We still need to actually make it hover. First, we'll need to parent everything to the body of the vehicle, again using keep transform. Now we can easily animate the body without affecting the animations of the other pieces. Let's pop a lock rot keyframe on the first frame, and then a final keyframe over on frame 15. By this point, the car will be full hover mode and the tires will be out. In our F-curve editor again, let's make Blender do the rest of the work. With only our Z location curve selected, I'm going to add a built-in function modifier. This will help me develop procedural animation data that I can easily repeat and constrain. Now, it's not great by default, so let's iterate. Let's restrict our frame range from 15 to 60 initially, although we change the end here in a second. Set the amplitude to 0.1, the phase multiplier to 0.1 as well, and the value offset to 0.3. This will help harmonize the procedural animation with our manual one. Now I'll increase the frame range and the end range to 250, as this is going to give us a lot of hang time. So cowabunga, or something, I guess. Well, that's going to be it for our time together in this episode. Thank you to everyone that voted on hover boosters, and make sure to check out the description for the link to our next poll item. As well, free CG Cookie members can snag the working files for this project as it continues to develop up on the CG Cookie site, linked down below. As always, I've been Chunck. This has been Let's Build It in Blender. Later, skater. You ever wondered why tires are so expensive nowadays? Well, somebody told me it's because they're inflated. Why did the car stop working after it got all of its tires changed? Well, it's because it's retired. Get it? Because it's all the tires they Yeah, you get it. Don't worry about it.